Hey guys, my name is Logan Shinholster, and in this video, we're going to be talking about Contractor Growth Network, which doesn't sound exactly the same as Contractor Sales Academy, but we actually, the two companies, work together on a lot of things. So don't mind the name, definitely watch the content because it's the exact same message. I hope you like it. Check it out. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Contractor Growth Network. Today is all about selling and marketing the exact same way that you buy. So we're going to walk through a couple scenarios of how you buy products in real life and then how you turn around and try to sell and market your same products in a very different fashion, and that's why it fails. Stay tuned. We'll walk you through everything. Hey everyone, welcome back to Contractor Growth Network. I am Logan.
I'm Alex.
And today is a sick topic. I talk about it all the time. It's one of my favorites, and it's all about selling and marketing the exact same way that you buy. But before we jump into it, we've been starting to get some reviews in the door, and it really drives us. So we want to call out the latest one because I thought it was an awesome review.
Yeah, we got a shout out to L2Earn on Apple Podcasts. Said, so much value here. Selfishly, I'm reluctant to promote this podcast so my competitors don't implement a fraction of what they're sharing. Me, Logan. Love it all, guys. Fantastic content for all contractors.
So L2Earn, and I'm guessing your name is probably Lester Ernest. If I had to put a name between L2Earn.
What other name would it be?
Yeah, obviously Lester Ernest.
Obviously.
Yeah, really appreciate it. That stuff like that, like I go through these, and we both go through these and check out the reviews, and like just like when you get a review online, like the more you see it, the more it fires you up, and you keep digging. So yeah, super cool in that. And then one other shout out. Nick Hewitt, dude, you watch everything. Really appreciate it. Still waiting on you to send us a hat to put up in this studio.
Yeah, you send me a hat, I will wear that every podcast until somebody else sends me a hat.
We'll trade the lava lamp for the hat.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right, guys. So today's topic is selling and marketing the exact same way that you buy. And let me give a bit of a background on this. Humans, we all buy in a very, like, everybody's a little bit different, but for the most part, it's all about the same way, right? You got to see a brand over and over and over and over and over. You got to do like a little commitment, meaning like you don't just like see one car commercial and walk in and swipe your credit card for a $35,000 car. There's like micro commitments along the way. And the problem is that as contractors and small business owners, we do none of it. What we're so accustomed to as humans, and especially Americans, is all the big dogs, the car industry, the clothing industry, the technology industry. We all buy from them in one manner, but then when we try to sell our own services, we completely change up how we're selling and marketing our services from what the big dogs do, and then we get frustrated when homeowners get mad at us because you're just too cheap, you can't afford me. And it's like, no, dude, you literally like completely changed what they're used to buying and how they're used to buying. Because in reality, we talked about this before, your true competition is not other contractors. It's all the other things in the world that they could buy or spend their time doing instead of dealing with you or hiring you. So your competition as a $75,000 kitchen remodeler is a $75,000 car or a $75,000 engagement ring or a $75,000, you fill in the blank. Or it could be a $35,000 kitchen remodeler that the homeowner can put 40 grand into a car. So now instead of just a kitchen remodel, they're getting a kitchen remodel and a car. What do you think they're going to opt for? Kitchen remodel and a car.
Yeah.
So this is all about breaking down. We're going to break down how you buy certain things as humans. We're going to go through every step of the process and then turn around and say, this is how you need to actually apply this to your business. So then that way you're not throwing a wrench in people's buying processes. You're literally following the exact same framework that society says this is how you buy. So it's not like you're creating this anxiety and stops people from buying. Is that too technical of what I'm saying?
No, I think it's perfect.
Okay, you also work here, so you understand it a bit more.
Yeah, but no, I think it's good. I think people overthink it too much, so I think simplifying it and going and saying, hey, you just go back to the basics here. I think that'd be good. So
cool. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about high-end buying. So let's go for a car, a $75,000 car, because this is the same price point as a $75,000 kitchen remodel, bathroom remodel, addition, backyard landscape, That's a hell of a deck, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So for a car, the very first thing with a car, and first off, Alex, let me ask you, like, as far as buying a new car, how long do you think that sales cycle is? Like, how long from the first time you go, you know what, I'd like to get a new car, till you actually buy it?
My sister just went through this, and she really wanted a new car. Her process was much quicker, I felt like. It was only like a week. I would say a couple weeks, I think, would be my process.
See, I'm on the opposite end. I've been looking for a new car for over a year now.
Oh, really?
A very long time, because I don't need one.
Okay.
If I needed one, it's different. The last time I bought a car, I sold my car out in California, because I used to live in San Francisco. I sold my car at 8 o'clock in the morning to CarMax, hopped on a 10:30 flight, got over to here, actually I flew to Maryland, late at night, woke up the next morning, 9 o'clock, went to CarMax and had to buy another car because the next day after that, I had to drive from Maryland to Charlotte, where I was going to move. And without a car, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So my buying process was super quick, but I had been doing a bunch of research beforehand.
Okay.
So the idea with your sister, it took her a week. Why did it only take her a week?
I think, it took her a week from when she actually went to the first dealership to actually look for a car. But research-wise, if you want to include that, I think it took her like close to a year because she's always wanted a car, but she didn't need it necessarily. Nothing wrong with her car. So I guess I misunderstood what you said.
But that's a perfect thing, because that is exactly what most people go through, where they think, well, you know, it only takes my clients a week to decide on a new kitchen remodel at $75,000. But in reality, just like your sister spent a whole year.
Yeah.
And then let's back it up. What kind of car did she buy?
She had a Toyota Camry, and she ended up buying a Ford Edge, I think, the SUV. I think it's the Edge.
Okay. So your sister that bought a Ford Edge. How old is your sister?
She's 28.
28 years old. How long do you think she's been seeing Ford commercials for?
Oh, probably every time she turns the TV on, they're all over.
For 28 years now.
Yep.
So she has known the company of Ford for 28 years.
Yep.
And if you had to guess, how many Ford commercials do you think she's seen?
Thousands, probably.
Do you think she knows who Henry Ford is?
Her, probably not, but I mean, she could recognize it, probably.
She could recognize it. So that is where it all starts, is that the sale and the marketing and everything didn't start the week that she walked into a dealership and then it's game on. It's been 28 years of knowing. Has she ever bought a Ford before?
No.
Okay.
So her first car was that Camry. So
it's been 28 years of seeing Ford commercials, thousands and thousands and thousands of commercials, learning in school about Henry Ford and all the stuff that he's done, the founder of this company. And then seeing all the different models of Ford. And then in 2008, learning about what happened with, GM and Ford and all those, companies out in Detroit. So it's been a household name for probably, 20 years.
Yeah.
So you got to think about that. So when you now, as a kitchen remodeler, go, this company, they don't want to pay my high prices. It's like, because they just heard about you this week. They just really went on to one of those third-party lead gen sites, or they got a referral from a friend, and this is the first time they've ever heard about your company. They have no idea why you do what you do. They've seen a couple reviews. They've seen a couple of things of this, but their process in which they buy a car that's $75,000 is they need to see 28 years of commercials. They need to spend a year of doing active research online, and then the final week of visiting dealerships and talking to salesmen. That's the culmination.
Yeah.
So that's what most people get wrong, is that it's like, it's an overnight success 20 years in the making. This was a week-long sales process, 28 years in the making. Now, if you're trying to sell your stuff and you are a remodeler, landscaper, whatever it is, and you have a really high price point stuff, this is how you build a brand, just like what Ford's doing. So people are used to seeing Ford. They're used to learning about Ford. They're used to doing all this stuff, but then you turn around and don't do any of it.
Yeah.
And then get mad when somebody doesn't want to spend $75,000 on a kitchen.
Yeah.
But why would they? Because they don't know who you are.
Well, it's funny. So my sister ended up buying a Ford, but the year before, both me and my dad were looking at Ford trucks to buy. So I know he went to like every single dealership that could sell a truck to look at it, and then eventually went back to Ford because he had a Ford before.
Yeah.
And that's what we settled on. And that helped my sister buy because my dad's mechanically inclined, so he knows what a Ford can do with its good quality truck. So it's like, just get the SUV. So it kind of was like he helped, bridge that gap, because he goes, Ford's good, just go with Ford if you're not going to go back to Toyota. So
yeah, and so it's now you have an expert in the field, Ford and stuff. So it's just like, and this is why we push all this email marketing, long-term stuff, because if you think about how long the actual sales process is with your prospect, if you're a contractor, it's not that week.
No,
it is years in the making. But if Ford didn't have a website and commercials and this and that, if it wasn't for your dad telling your sister go buy a Ford because they're good, she'd probably have no idea what a Ford was when she walked up on the lot. So if nobody, let's say none of these car commercials exist, Ford does no marketing really, Toyota does no marketing, Honda does no marketing. When your sister walks onto the used car lot or a new car dealership and she sees all these different, how is she going to know the difference between a Toyota versus a Ford versus a Honda? She's not. All she's going to see is price points. She's going to see a couple cool features. Well, that one's a 4-cylinder. That one's a 6-cylinder. And unless she's trying to like get up and go faster, like she's not going to know the difference.
Yeah, one's got leather seats, one's got cloth.
Exactly. So, unless it's like little things like that, and there's like straight up like material differences and like features and widgets and stuff like that, she's just going to go for the cheapest one because she has no idea the differences between the two. She doesn't know what Ford stands for versus Toyota versus Honda. So how can you get mad at a homeowner that they look at you and you're $30,000 more than somebody else because you're worth it? You're going to show up, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, but they don't buy from you because they don't really know the difference.
Yeah.
Because they've only seen you for a week.
Yeah. It's like when you, the car example is so easy to just go off of, but you show up to a lot, you talk to a salesman, and then, you're like, all right, we'll be back in a week. And if he doesn't call back up in a week, you're like, I guess he doesn't want my sale.
Yeah.
Almost. So it's like the same kind of thing. If you, they need to know that you actually care about them.
Yeah.
So then you need to kind of continue to get back in front of them, which is why email is really important with that too.
It's email, it's all the Facebook ads, it's sending out postcards, it's the long game because nobody just on a whim goes, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to hire a landscaper or a landscape design company to come in here and remodel my backyard.
Yeah.
So this is where all the long-term stuff comes in. So sorry, go ahead.
No, and it was just saying on the opposite end, everyone hates the pushy salesman. If the guy's calling you back every hour on the hour for the next 3 days, that's annoying, and you wouldn't like that. Would you buy from that? So
it's exact. So you got to think about the different things that you buy in your life as a contractor. Whether it's new equipment. And your equipment, some of you guys, you have some really expensive equipment, or your work truck, or your this, or your that, stuff that's higher end and costs more money and is a long-term investment. How many long-term investments do you make on a whim? Very few, right? If you're going to put all your money with a financial planner, you don't just Google financial planner, call that guy and go, you know what, man, I got about $1 million I'm looking to do something with. What are you up to this afternoon? Like, it doesn't work like that. So you have to really sell the same way that you buy. So if you're a higher end, which trust me, 100% of the remodeling companies that we talk to, they all say I am a high-end remodeler because I've never met a low-end remodeler. I've never met, because I don't even know what that would be. Like, yeah, we do work, but it just kind of sucks.
You don't finish it, I guess.
Yeah, like we're going to put in these cabinets, but at the end we're going to put some screw holes in it just to knock off the price or whatever.
Yeah.
But everybody always talks about how they're high-end, but they don't do the high-end marketing. So Apple's a high-end technology product. You see all their marketing, and I don't know if it's because I have Apple products and I believe in the product, but I see way more Apple commercials than I do Dell commercials.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's because you associate Apple with being high-end that even if you really dissect it and it's like, oh, is their commercial, is their website really that high-end? You just think that already because you know they're high-end. Yeah. And it's a really good, well-done commercial. So you're like, yeah, that's like the example you want to use almost.
It's just the overall brand is really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But they're hitting you all over. And Apple's a technology company. There's billboards around Charlotte that show Apple. It was just crazy because they're always there. They're always top of mind. So when it comes time to hiring somebody, and plus this is the best way where if the more that you can educate people, especially if you're way more expensive, and most of the clients that we work with, they're easily at least 50% higher than their industry average. The more that you can educate people, the more likely it is that they're going to wait an extra 2 years to do that kitchen remodel project or to paint the entire house or to get that outdoor kitchen, from a landscape design company, because they're like, you know what, we could either get it today for 50 grand, or we could get it in 2 years, have it done exactly how we want it with the right company for 75. They're more likely to wait if they understand the implications of jumping right now and going with a $50,000 company, but they would only do that or only know the implications if you are putting that out there in their ecosystem or in their world, if you will. And that is where all this ongoing stuff comes in. So how do you actually do that? One, content. All the stuff that we're doing right now with CGN, Alex's whole job is literally just to push this brand. And honestly, obviously, go back to the why of it all. It's to help you guys all out. But what does he actually do? It's all the video, all the podcasting, all the pictures, all the stuff that just kind of shows a behind the scenes look of what we're doing and also what you can be doing in your world to make this stuff happen. That is the long-term play here. So content. So let's just say, Alex, if you're a contractor, what kind of videos would make sense for people to put out there?
About your process. What's the step from when they first contact you to when they want to close the deal? Then maybe about the team. If they we did one for Todd Triple up in Michigan, a painter, and all the project managers got on camera and said a little bit about themselves. So when they walk to your door, you don't think there's just a strange guy walking to your door. You know a little bit about them. You can make small talk as well. And then maybe a couple of project profiles. Past work you've done, talking through it, kind of again talking about your process, but real kind of in time quirks that come up or red flags that come up during a job that you can solve right there. The
red flag thing is perfect because that's always a great one where it's stuff happens, people know it, but as a contractor, you're a problem solver.
No job is always 100% perfect, so something always comes up.
And those people that can say, this is a problem that came up and this is how we fixed it, they're more likely to get hired because, yes, you admitted to doing it imperfectly, but here's how you problem solved. That is what people want to see.
It's a real fear for people, too.
Yes, it is.
How do they respond off a red flag? If something comes up, how are you going to respond?
It's no relationship is perfect, but it's how you bounce back. So content is the first big one in all of this stuff. The next step of this is going to be you have to stay in front of people somehow. You think about that car, your sister has seen commercials. A commercial is content for Ford, and then now it's it's a video for Ford, and now it's what is the vehicle, no pun intended, to get that in front of your sister for 28 years. They used car commercials on television. As a contractor, commercials, they could still do okay, but this is where Facebook ads come in. This is where emails come in, because if you can get somebody on your email list, you can, quote unquote, send them your commercial once a week.
Yeah.
Twice a month, whatever you want it to be, but you're staying top of mind the same way that Ford stayed top of mind with your sister.
Yeah. Ford can, obviously they have millions and millions of clients or customers, so they can afford to put it on TV as commercial. But for contractors, you're really only working in a small area. So to put them on online is the easiest way. I'll be driving and I hear a contractor ad on the radio and I think, why? Because it's the most unvisual form of media. So how is somebody actually going to buy or call you because they hear your radio ad? I think it's so stupid.
And think about how many times has somebody called you up and said, I don't want to see any pictures of what the work you do. I just want you to tell me what you do.
Never.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, that's why I think it's so stupid. But yeah, that's why online, literally they could just be scrolling through Facebook and you're on the side.
Yeah.
That's it.
And so it's, you have to have that vehicle that gets you back in front of, you have the content, now let's get back in front of those people. And that is the email marketing stuff. That is running branding ads on Facebook and YouTube, things like that, just to stay top of mind, because again, you've got a very long sales cycle, super long. So you need to stay top of mind. And then let's talk about the car thing again. Did your sister just buy the car online, or did she go somewhere and experience the car?
No, she went there, test drove it.
She went there and test drove it. But then yet we want to turn around and say, well, we'll just buy the kitchen, buy the landscape without test driving anything. This is why, if you have a showroom, so my dad in the pawn world, right? They have a competitor. He's actually pretty. There's a friendly competitor, and the friendly competitor has a pond, like a pond set, like a garden center, if you will. And their business has taken off hand over fist because people can go there, they can experience it the same way that we talked about, like, you know, like somebody will show up at my dad's house, they sit there for the pond, they experience it, they walk away with a big ass check. But this is their version of test driving a pond. My dad doesn't have that unless he invites people to his house. So how are they going to quote unquote test drive a pond? It's so much harder. But with your sister, when she gets in it, she sees the buttons, she can drive it, she knows what she's going to feel like, what she's going to look like in that car. It's a hell of a lot easier to sell somebody when they test drive it. So if you are a contractor, people, especially if you're high-end, you sell high-end stuff, people need to somehow test drive your stuff. Let's say you put it in, you know, a backyard patio, like a really nice upscale one with a fire pit and an outdoor kitchen. What emotion, if you're a homeowner and you have that in your backyard, what emotion do you think you want to feel if you do that?
Serenity, happiness.
Serenity and happiness. So you need to somehow, as a contractor, let somebody get into a backyard that's going to be kind of similar to theirs and experience serenity and happiness. Because once they felt that, it's kind of like heroin. Once you feel it once, you want to feel it again. All right, next thing you know, you're putting on Pink Floyd and you're jamming out, but you need to experience that serenity and that happiness in a backyard, because once you have it and it gets taken away because they go, hey, you know, like it's time to go. As a homeowner, you want that. It's the same reason why Bose has at their store. Have you ever been to a Bose store in a mall?
Yes.
And they put on the headphones where they put in the surround sound, and you watch some like Sahari video that has nothing to do with anything in my life, but it's so cool because you can never watch TV the same way again.
No, change your whole experience.
Yeah.
That's why at least like I know like your dad's competitor has a showroom, and that's not realistic for I think a lot of contractors, but you know, it is, but I mean, it's okay to not have one. That's why video is very important, because you can still kind of get the same feel. It's not as you're there, because I know when I'm there, it's a little bit different. But even watching pond videos on YouTube, I'm like, I become now if I want a big house and I want a pond. That's what I want, because they portray it so well. And if you do it right, you can actually make that your showroom, your YouTube channel.
Yes, and that's a good little hack for it all. I'm still sold on the idea that like, if somebody's so used to going, and I mean, this is another thing that somebody brought up. They were like, well, Apple never runs sales and Apple never does. Apple has a showroom. They have a showroom in every single mall that you can go there and test drive that $2,000 computer or that $1,200 phone. And you can go there and play with all the features and stuff, but then we turn around and we say, buy this $75,000 thing, but nobody, there's no way for them to open the drawers. Like you have like all these remodelers these days that we're doing websites for, we're like, what's a cool feature? And they're like, oh, people love the slow closing drawers, which is like, they don't slam. But unless you've been in somebody's house that has that, how are you going to show somebody that? Which is why these seminars are really big. Seminar, that's a whole topic. Actually, that's coming out next. I think this would have been at this
Monday.
Point. Yeah. So
not this.
So
20th.
Listen to last week's podcast.
Yeah.
Listen to last week's podcast from this with Brian Sebring. Talks all about the seminars, but that stuff works. So to go back, just to wrap up the high end stuff, you got to really reverse engineer how you do things. If people are used to test driving your stuff, if you don't have a showroom, make your house a showroom. Or if you're finishing up a house for somebody, like a kitchen for somebody, or a backyard renovation, ask that client, hey, would you mind if I bring a couple prospects in just to kind of show them a behind-the-scenes look? That's what Neil Christensen used to do. He used to show it was called like behind the wall, and he would just kind of, during a project, bring people out and show them what the project is all about. So it gets people in there and lets them, quote-unquote, test drive your stuff.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Switching on over to short-term. I'm going to stay with the car commercial stuff. Short term, and what I mean by this is, or not short term, lower price point. If you don't sell a $75,000 thing, but you sell something that's, let's say, $1,000 or less, whether it's one window install, it's a pond cleaning, it's like touching up like the garden at someone's house, it's a bit of a different sales process, but you still have to reverse engineer the exact same way that you do for a high end. So let's talk about something that's cheaper. Let's do like what's a car thing, oil changes. What does an average oil change cost?
Like $60 maybe.
$60
if you get synthetic.
Exactly. So when it's something that's super cheap like that, and you look at it in that manner, because I mean, who do you go for here in Charlotte to do your oil?
I just go straight to the Ford dealership because they do a great job. But I used to go to, I think it was like Grease Monkey or something.
See, you don't even know the name of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it doesn't matter, because you don't look at, for the most part, like you don't look at the oil, like you're not looking at an oil change place as like, man, I can't wait to go there and get the greatest experience. Like you just want your oil changed,
Cheapest,
get in, get
if they
out.
Don't screw it up. That's the two things, you know.
Yes, like, and that's really what it comes down to. So when you sell stuff, that people look at you as a commodity, and it's not because of who you are, it's because of the fact that, I mean, unless I've had like a really bad experience or a really amazing experience, I'm just probably always going to look at oil changes as like just something that just has to get done.
Yeah.
I'm not waking up on a Saturday morning excited because like I can't wait to go there and talk to Rick and have fun there. It's not fun.
It's a nuisance. Well, I'll tell a quick story. In New York, the mechanic we always used to go to, I just needed an inspection on my car. It's a 4-minute plug-in, $37 thing, and I had to go back 5 times because they just yelled at me every time because I parked in the wrong spot because there's nowhere to park there. But like, and then I come down here and I want to go get an oil change. I go to Ford, and it's like I sit in the waiting room. They give me free coffee, free candy, whatever I want, and in 10 minutes it's done. And I'm like, that's a great experience. I'm gonna go back there every time.
So with that, you just have to understand that like unless somebody's been through in New York City 5 iterations of getting yelled at, they're gonna look at you as like a commodity because of just what you do. So like that's the big problem with the pawn world, where what happens is somebody moves into a new house, and this is like every industry deals with this, but especially with pawns, somebody moves into a new house and they have a pond in the backyard. They have no idea what to do with it, and they got to do something about it because it's a cesspool that collects mosquito eggs. And what happens with mosquito eggs? They hatch mosquitoes. Mosquitoes, bite your kids die of West Nile.
Oh, God.
You got to do something about it. It's kind of like the oil. But nobody's looking at it as, you know what? I cannot wait for the pond guy to get out here and service his pond. Like, it's going to be the best Saturday of my life.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that you have to get done. So when somebody comes in and says, yes, this is going to be $1,000, as a homeowner, you're like, no way. Because as a homeowner, this is an oil change, but for your house. Where they look at it as a commodity unless they've had a terrible experience with somebody else where maybe they came out, they cleaned it, and when they cleaned the pond, they punctured a hole in it, and it was just a whole fiasco. But for most people, this is their first pond. If you deal with a lot of first-time home buyers, they are going to hire cheaper people because they have never hired a contractor and gotten screwed before. So you can't get mad at people for being cheap because they don't know the downside.
Yeah, I think everything starts off as like a negative mindset. I feel like they don't really want the pond, and they want to get it serviced. So it's like you kind of you're already starting behind the 8 ball. So why keep going down that path?
So you have to and that's when either a promotion comes in that goes, look, usually it's $1,000, we'll do it for $600, or you know what, hire somebody else, hire somebody for $400, and I'll see you next year. And you can't say that, but it's one of those where it's like when you go and you let them go for the cheap guy, they're going to call you back the next year and go, hey, I had it done last year, but I can't get a hold of the person. Or, hey, I had it done, but they punctured a hole in the liner. And you're going to go, great, it's $1,000. Or they go, well, the other guy's $400. And you're going to go, okay, what happened when you hired the $400 guy? And they're going to go, okay, you're right, I'll pay the $1,000. So you sometimes just have to let them go and let them experience the negative, because think about every movie out there. There's always what does success look like, but there's always failure, because if you don't talk about failure, then what's the whole point of winning? So if I don't know, give me a movie.
Talladega Nights.
Talladega. I don't know that movie well.
You don't know that movie? Okay.
I know it kind of.
You ever seen Step Brothers then?
Sure. Step Brothers. So Step Brothers, here's what's going to happen. Here is the whole point of Step Brothers at the end is the 2 brothers have to come together, work together to get their parents back together. And you know that as the audience, because you know that the parents, they want to get the parents back together. But if the brothers fail at that, then they're never going to see each other again because the parents got divorced. But if they don't talk about the fact that I'll never see you again, then you don't know what the downside is, then the upside's not that big of a deal. So the same thing with this, where if homeowners know what the downside of going to somebody cheaper is, then they're way more likely to go with somebody nicer and somebody more expensive. But unless they've never experienced that, it's going to be a tough sell because they don't know the downside. So you either have to pull that out of them and go, all right, let's talk about the worst case scenario here. Then they're just not going to know. But as far as your marketing and all your sales stuff, it's sometimes you just got an oil change, and for an oil change, the way that somebody buys, like at least for me, I literally Google oil change company near me, and then I look at when they're open, what's the availability, because for me, speed's everything.
Yeah.
I'd much rather just get in, get out, and be done with it. I'm okay with paying an extra like $40 more if it's not going to take up my whole Saturday, and I can actually schedule an appointment.
Yeah.
So if you want something that's, if you offer a cheaper project or a cheaper service, maybe you have a scheduler on your website where it says, hey, I will come out and I'll spend 2 hours doing X, Y, and Z. Schedule your time on my website. But you, again, guys, like you have to really take the way that you buy things and reverse engineer that and apply that to your own stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's like fast food, I think, like killed a lot of like restaurant, like, I don't know, like customer service a little bit, because you're so used to getting it like in 5 minutes, within 5 minutes, that at a restaurant you're like, oh, why haven't they got my water yet? It's been about 10 minutes. And it's like, because
that's so
packed.
true.
I mean, that's why. And you like, it's a restaurant. Like, you're supposed to just have a conversation. You know what I mean?
So you just really, like, for all this stuff, whatever price point you're at, I mean, it's just car stuff, $75,000. But if you offer a $75,000 project, but you don't offer financing, what percentage of people buy a car outright with cash?
Hardly anybody.
What percentage of people buy a house outright with cash?
Nobody.
And in both of those scenarios, you can negotiate. But then we turn around, and when somebody says, can you do something about the price? We go, no way, wow, you're too cheap. I don't negotiate. But they're used to negotiating. And then I see this all the time. I see things where people are like, well, you know, would you walk into McDonald's and ask them if you can get a cheeseburger for $4 instead of $5? And it's like, yes, bro, you are selling a $75,000 thing, not a $5 cheeseburger. And they're used to it. Those price points, they're used to negotiating. So when somebody wants to negotiate, you can take that snarky tone and go, no, wait, would you walk into McDonald's? It's like, dude, like, I'm sorry. They're also not talking to the owner.
Yeah.
Like, they're not talking to, do you know who founded McDonald's?
Not Dave Thomas. That was Wendy's, I think.
Yeah, Ray Kroc.
Ray Kroc, no.
Ray Kroc, yeah. Good movie, was the founder. But either way, like, you're not talking to him. You're not going, hey, man, I know you founded this stuff. You set the prices. Like, you're literally, as the homeowner, you're talking to the person who sets the prices. You're the one who came up with it. And that's a subjective price.
Plus, they're already margined down so thin that you almost like trust McDonald's at this point. That's actually what it's cost.
Yeah, and it costs what it costs, and they have all the leverage. Because if you walk in there and you say, look, I will only pay $4 for this $5 thing, or else I'm walking out of here.
Yeah.
What's McDonald's worker going to say?
Okay.
Yeah.
There's
like,
15 people in line.
Sorry, bro. Yeah, like, could you hurry it up? Yes, exactly, because they have the leverage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would love for someone to just be like, well, you're not McDonald's, buddy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, like, you know, like, that's fine. Like, if I'm, look, like, if this is McDonald's, like, I won't negotiate, but you are so expensive. So that's one of those things that, like, you just have to really reverse engineer everything. Think about all the stuff that you buy. Think about all the marketing that goes into it. And I know it sounds overwhelming, but ignorance is bliss, where you go, well, and you can blame the customers. I see that all day long. You know, God, the worst thing I ever see, and we'll wrap it up with this, because otherwise I'm just going to keep, dude, I get so frustrated when I see stuff that when somebody says, yes, this is going to cost X amount of money, and the homeowner goes, wow, that's a lot of money. And the contractor goes, yeah, not everybody can afford us. And what they did is they just won the battle. They just won the battle by putting the homeowner down by saying, you're too poor to hire me. And don't worry about it. A lot of people are too poor, and they're doing it to prop their own ego up, but they lose the war because A, they definitely just lost that customer. And B, that customer is going to tell all their friends, oh yeah, I talked to Logan. He's a dick. Like, not only did I tell him I didn't want to hire him, he then he threw salt into the wound. So it's just like, it's this whole thing. You really have to, like with us here, like at CGN at Full Sail, like I'm like looking through it. I'm like, okay, this is what this costs. As a business owner, if somebody asked me $10,000 for a website, how would I want to do the payments? Would I want to just do upfront because we have the cash? Would I save up for it? Would I ask to space it out over a 2-year period so it's only a few $100 a month? What does that look like? So it's all just what you yourself would do is how you need to sell your services. And yes, you're not your ideal client because most contractors cannot afford their own services, but you got to think of the other things in life that are kind of at that price point that your homeowner buys, and that is really what you need to emulate off of, because there's a set template of how people buy things, and if you deviate from that, it causes chaos in homeowners' minds, and you're SOL.
Yeah, I couldn't have said any better. Perfect.
Well, I rehearsed it.
Yeah, good.
All right, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is, how would you categorize this? Would this be more of like a sales thing, a marketing thing, like a sales mindset, marketing mindset?
It's like a little hybrid of everything. I think it's more sales, but it's also kind of it goes into marketing because that kind of goes with sales. So I don't know. I'll go with sales mindset, I think.
Okay.
Start over, reverse engineer your sales mindset. That's it.
All right, let's do this. What keyword would we want to go for on this?
Sales mindset.
Sales mindset. So do us a favor, guys. If you like this kind of stuff where it's reverse engineering the whole sales mindset, comment below more sales mindset, because that will, because I mean, trust me, as you can see from my enthusiasm, I can keep going on this stuff. And the more that you truly understand why people buy and how people buy, it's way easier to sell them stuff, sell them whatever it is that you do, because you can tap into that versus trying to sell widgets and then getting mad at them when they say no.
Plus, we're more passionate about topics that you guys actually want to talk about.
Yes, like exactly. So. Like, you know, we see it. We go, okay, great. The last podcast was on scarcity. Mm-hmm. And we got a lot of downloads, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of likes and comments. Let's do more on that stuff, because clearly you guys like that. So we can take the general idea of scarcity and now let's create a couple subcategories on it and dive even deeper into more actionable things. So the more that you guys interact with us, the more that we'll give out to you, and we do it all on metrics. There's certain videos that we'll never do again because it did not work whatsoever, but you got to test it just to see.
Yep. So if you tell us, it's way easier.
If you like this stuff, put in more sales mindset in the comments below. If you are on podcast, just do us a favor. Just send this out to one person that needs to hear it. Like every so often, I'll find a podcast. I don't always send like a podcast that I listen to out to somebody, but if I do hear one that I really like, I usually send it out to like 24 people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So